or academic work at the undergraduate level. You can major, which means you can get a bachelor's degree in psychology, and you can do that either through the Faculty of Arts or through the Faculty of Science, depending on what your interest is. One isn't necessarily better than the other, it's just don't do a science degree if you hate sciences, don't do an arts degree if you hate art courses. You know what I mean? So really is one's not better than the other, it's just your interest. The psychology course requirement for the Bachelor of Arts or the Bachelor of Science, the psychology courses are the same, right? So the difference is going to be the courses that are needed to get your bachelor's degree. Okay, so I just want to take another second just to clarify, because this might be obvious, but sometimes it's good to address obvious things. A degree is granted by the registrar's office. Okay, so you get a Bachelor of Science degree or Bachelor of Arts degree in whatever your area of interest is going to be. But the program that you study, let's say for example you do a psychology program, you're going to major in psychology, either graduating with a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science. So we're also going to touch on the requirements for the psychology program and also what that means in terms of the requirements for the degree. Okay, so the psychology course requirement for the Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science are the same, but there's a bunch of other courses that you have to take to meet the requirements for the Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, and that's where the difference is going to be between those two programs. Behavioral neuroscience is a program that's offered through the Department of Psychology, and that's only as a Bachelor of Science. And Kaya, if you want to speak with that in a few minutes, that'd be great, about your experience in that. And Amelia, if you want to touch on your experience in your undergraduate courses, that would also be fantastic. The honors program, which I get a lot of questions about, and you might have heard that term before. An honors program is similar to your degree that you would complete, Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, but you do a few extra courses to get a little extra specialization so you can apply for graduate school, right? So if you want to be a psychologist or if you want to be a PhD research scientist, you probably are going to have an honors degree completed first. Okay, so you get into the honors program, you graduate with an honors degree. Typically, that means you're going to go to graduate school to get a master's degree or PhD. Okay, so this is just extra undergraduate level specialization. Psychology also offers a co-op program, and this is a really neat opportunity to incorporate what are called work terms in your undergraduate studies. So you would take courses towards your degree, and every 2 or 3 semesters, you get a job for a semester, and then you write a report on it, and that's part of your undergraduate program. So the co-op program takes more time to complete than the psychology or behavioral neuroscience degrees, but when you graduate, you will have accumulated, I think it's 3 semesters of work experience. Okay, so that's an option for you to consider here. And also you can do what's called a minor in psychology. So that would be in the event where, yeah, you kind of like psychology, but you'd rather do a physics degree. So then you would do some major in some program, but you can take 8 courses in total. And that means that when you graduate with your, for example, physics degree, you can have an additional credit on your diploma that says you also have a minor in psychology. So you've accumulated some amount of psychology courses on your transcript, just a secondary, less specialized, but somewhat specialized area of study. Okay, so these are the undergraduate options that are available to you. And probably the most burning question that people have before they enter the program is, how do I get into it? Right? So how do I get into the psychology program? So these are all hyperlinked on the side here. So whether you want to do a psychology major or behavioral neuroscience or honors, the requirements to be accepted and then the subsequent requirements for the degrees, you'll find in those links. So I click on this guy here as an example. Let's say you want to do a major in psychology as either a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science, and you can scroll down and it tells you what you need to get in. Once you're in, what courses you should take, and at the bottom, you've graduated. Okay, so this would be, for example, the psychology program as a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. So the psychology programs are very, very popular. And the unfortunate side effect of that is that they're somewhat competitive. And typically, I mean, it depends year by year, but typically, what we see in psychology and what you can probably roughly expect each year is however many students that are accepted, twice as many have applied for it. And that seems to be the rough general rule of thumb. So as an example, if psychology accepts 10 students, there were probably 20 that applied. Okay. Um, what that means year to year is, the higher your grades are, of course, the higher the probability of getting in. But every year is different, right? In one year, there may be less students apply, which means your chances of getting in is higher. In another year, the averages of the students that applied may not be as high as they were in previous years. So it really does depend year by year by year. So applying to a program, whether it's psychology or phys ed or kinesiology or education, it's always great to have a backup contingency plan, right? And that's just a good life plan anyways, right? So if you plan on doing a major in psychology, whether it's psych directly or behavioral neuroscience, the application process happens once a year. So if you just look at the admission, couple paragraphs here for psychology, this is the same for behavioral neuroscience. We accept students once a year, and the deadline is June 1st. Okay, and there's a hyperlinked form embedded right on the webpage here. Okay, so this departmental webpage will take multiple visits because it's very, very dense. There's a lot of information here, but keeping it tabbed on your web browser is good, and just you can refer to it and consult with it, as often as you need to. So if you do consider psychology as an option that you would like to pursue, the next round of admissions will be for next fall, September, and the application deadline will be June 1st of next year to apply. To be considered eligible for the psychology program for, let's say, next fall semester, you will have needed to complete before next fall the intro psych courses, Psych 1000, 1001, and they're quite popular. So I'm sure almost every first year one student has these two courses in the fall and the winter. That's usually pretty standard, but they are required for admission. The other tricky language, just in case anyone's unsure, a course at MUN is considered 3 credit hours. Okay, so usually on web pages and references for courses and programs with Memorial, courses are usually referenced by credit hours, and each course is considered 3 credit hours. 99% of courses are 3 credit hours. So you see here for Clause B, a student needs to have 6 credit hours of English courses or courses that are considered reading and writing. So there's a list of courses. Click on that link, English or history or religious studies or whatever the case is. Okay, so you need to have 2 courses completed from that list that you can find just by clicking on that little tagger there. There's a math requirement for admission. So if you take Math 1000, your best kind, there are several other first-year math courses offered at Memorial. So if you don't take Math 1000 before June 1st of next year, you will need to complete 2 of these 3 math courses to be considered eligible for admission. And in addition to that, you need to have 6 credit hours, which again is 2 courses in electives. And the term electives means take whatever you want. Whatever Memorial course is offered, that's 3 credit hours that is of interest and not directly required for the major, but required for the degree as a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. Those courses are called electives, and they're meant to be interest courses that you want to take just for interest. So if you do a degree, a Bachelor of Science with a major in psychology, you should probably take more than psychology courses, right? It's just good for, perspective and general knowledge based on the kind of good stuff. Okay. typically students who enter MUN take minimum of 3 courses to be a full-time student. Most students take 5 courses a term in the first year. So this requirement usually goes without saying, okay? So these are the courses required for admission. The grade requirement to be considered eligible is listed in the paragraph preceding. You need to have a minimum of a 65% average in combined Psych 1000-1001, or and a minimum average of 60 in both your psych courses and your math requirement and your English courses or reading and writing course requirement. Okay, so what happens on June 2nd of next year, after students have applied, I get a spreadsheet from the registrar's office with all the applicants, and then I do my geeky Excel spreadsheet, work on them, and I rank them, and I look at the grades, and then the department accepts X number, and then based on the grades, we proceed based on that. Okay. The one last thing I will say about the admission grade requirement is, in the event a student applies and is unsuccessful, because it's just the nature of applying to programs, competitive programs, all hope is not lost. So what students can do if they really want to apply the following academic year is take courses that are going to lead towards the Bachelor of Arts or of Science degree in the meantime. And the next time a student applies, if they apply more than once, the required competitive grade that we look at is going to be either the highest of these required courses or the average of your last 2 semesters of full-time study. So if a student applies, for example, June 1st of next year, based on this fall and winter grades, and because of that academic year's competition, just fell short of being accepted next year, the following year, if a student applies and destroys that fall and winter, and those grades are super duper high, then that's what we'll consider. Okay, so there's always another chance to get in the next semester, because otherwise you would just never get in, right? If you just look at just that first year. So that's the nuts and bolts of the admission. So do you want to, I can take a break here, and if there's any questions, of course, we can field them, or we can field questions at the end. If Kaya or Amelia want to make some commentary at this point, that'd be great. Whatever we think is a good route to take here.
If I could jump in if no one else has any questions.
Of course. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. So I was just kind of going to talk a bit about my experience with neuroscience and some advice that I wish that I had when I was applying. So I applied in my first year. I didn't really know what I was going to do when I started, so I applied in my winter semester of my first year to try to get in for the following fall. I actually wasn't successful in my first year, which was heartbreaking to say the least, but it gave me a really good opportunity to get ahead of a lot of other courses that I probably would have had to been taking in concurrence with my neuroscience courses the following year. So blessing and a curse. So I took my second year, and I done all kinds of electives, got all my chemistry courses done that I didn't have done in first year. And I actually ended up taking a second major in biology. I decided that biology was for me. So after my second year, I already had my biology major started, and I was applying to neuroscience, and I was successful for my third year fall intake. So I guess the number one thing that I learned throughout that process was not to worry about timelines too much. They say 4 years for a degree. Not true. Everyone's situation is different. I'm doing my degree in 5 years, and I'm super happy. I have a lot of courses done that I probably wouldn't have done as well in if I were doing neuroscience courses at the same time as my core science courses. So definitely was a blessing. And I can't speak to psychology in arts or science. I can only speak to behavioral neuroscience, but the program is incredibly hands-on, so you're going to be pretty busy in your second year. So again, another reason is not worried too much about timelines. If you can't take 5 courses a semester, don't stress yourself out about it. You know, do what you can do and do as well as you can. So that being said, neuroscience I'm so glad that I picked it. It's an absolutely incredible program. It's a lot of hands-on opportunities that I don't think I would have got in any other program here at MUN, at least not to what I wanted to be doing. There's also a lot of opportunities in neuroscience or in psychology in general to explore. You can kind of choose which route you want to take. So I'm kind of running down the developmental psychology route. I'm really interested in like vision development in children. So now I'm in the process of getting into volunteering in a lab with a professor who studies that kind of stuff. And I'm hopefully going to take my honors into that direction as well. So lots of opportunities if you wanted to ask around to some faculty members. There's all kinds of different research going on if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Another thing I wanted to say was that the department is super helpful. I know it's kind of intimidating to go and talk to the department head or to an advisor or a professor, but they're all there because they want you to succeed. And they're all just really love talking about their own research, their own experience, and they want to help you along too. So don't be too intimidated by that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was prep. So a lot of students were really confused about that when I started at psychology courses, and I was too. Prep is like an opportunity for psychology students to get extra credits towards their courses by participating in research. So it's kind of has double benefits because you're getting bonus marks. Who doesn't like bonus marks? 2 or 3% per course usually, and you're also getting research experience, which is super, super helpful if that's something that's that you're interested in. So prep is something your prof will probably tell you about at the beginning of the semester, and you're probably going to forget about it, but try not to, because if just for 2 or 3 hours, you're going to get an extra 2 or 3% in that psychology course, and then you have a ton of research that you can use to reference if you wanted to go into a certain area of research, or if you're just interested in maybe taking your major down that path or whatever you like. So that's kind of all I really wanted to talk about. And if you have any questions for me about my experience, you can message me privately here, or I can give you my email, whatever you like. Thank you.
I can pop in and talk about my, unless anyone has any questions for Amelia. Don't think so. Yeah, so basically to parrot what Amelia was saying, I've loved my time in the psychology faculty. Going into my last year is definitely bittersweet. I love the fact that I'm graduating, but it's going to be sad to leave all the friends that I've made along the way and all the professors. I think some of my favorite things about the psych faculty is how welcoming everybody is. There's no boundaries. You go into an office and you can ask about anything and talk about life and stuff like that. The research is also super interesting. I know definitely more about the neuroscience side more than the psych side, but I worked in a lab researching Alzheimer's, and there's circadian rhythm research going on. There's a lot of social psychology research going on, and even a bit of forensics as well, which is super interesting. So apart from that, since I am the president of the society, I'd like to put in a few words. We have a Facebook page, MUN Psychology and Behavioral Neuroscience Society. So if you have any questions relating to the society, you can definitely send us off a message there. But we do a lot of events through the year. We kind of help honor students match up with supervisors. We have bus crawls, there's meet and greets and mixers, and we're hoping to have a few events this upcoming year for first years to kind of get a bit more familiar with the psychology faculty. Bus crawls, yeah. Hopefully, I don't think COVID will present an issue. Hopefully, I'll cross my fingers. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Okay, I don't see any there. Yeah, so like Amelia said, if you have any questions for me, you can send me off a message or message our Facebook group or our society email.
Excellent. I think the most important point that should be made in this session, and any session, orientation session that happens, is if you're feeling overwhelmed and bombarded with information, you and absolutely everyone else is. And like even this session here, like I'm sure 5 minutes after we're done, you're gonna forget what you Google to get the psych departmental webpage, right? So what's most important, and Kaya kind of brought it up there, which is a good point. The most important aspect of these orientation sessions, the first week of study in the fall semester, is just to very slowly transition to university life, right? I mean, it's an adjustment. It's a major life change, and how the heck is anyone supposed to know what they're going to take for the next 5 years of study after 2 days on campus? You know what I mean? So it's a really overwhelming time, right? And so like, what's most important for all the students on campus in the first semester is to find support systems to help with uh, data entry, right? Like data input. You're going to be absolutely bombarded with information. And whether that's meeting somebody in your class that sit next to you and just say, do you know when this bus crawl is because I heard about it? Or do you know what the website is for departmental webpage? Because I remember hearing something about finding admission requirements, but I don't remember where that is. There's a lot of information. And in the first week of each class, there's an absolute barrage of information. And your social media data input is overwhelming. There's posters everywhere. There's paper sourced information. There's electronic information. So the strategy for preparing for the fall semester in the first week and a half, like the first week is almost like a write-off. Like it's brutal. You don't even know where the buildings are. You don't know where the classrooms are, right? But you and everybody else feels that way, right? So when this session is over, um, I don't expect you to know what the minimum cutoff is for Psych 1001 for admission, right? You probably got that forgot already. Like I've got it right here. But knowing where to find information to consult with later is what's most important, right? And having networking opportunities like this session here, any opportunity in the first week of the semester where you can socially distance but still see human beings again. Oh my God, yay, seeing human beings again. But all those opportunities are just meant to be networking opportunities, right? Because you're going to see the same people in Psych 1001 as you are in Chemistry 1050. And you're going to see the same people at the library, right? So the more frequently you see people, the higher the probability of striking up some sort of academic relationship with them, or even just being pals over the course of time, because you meet people, you know, in university. Like Kai alluded to, like graduating is sad because you make these friends, right? Like you're in the trenches and you're working on research projects together, and you know you're meeting up at the library to study together and that kind of stuff, right? So it really is um, a lot of information, but finding any opportunity to network and connect is what's most important. And to piggyback off what Amelia was saying, like the faculty in psychology are amazing, and you can go to any one of them and talk to them, right? And so that's another networking venture, right? So you're networking with classmates, you're networking with professors teaching the courses. If you decide after 2 years to do an honors degree, you network with the professor to do research with them. You network with the department head to help you, or myself, the advisor, about trying to figure out what graduate program is, you know. So it's like you develop these relationships over the course of 4 years or 5 years or however long it takes you to graduate, right? So any anxiety and stress felt related to information overload, everybody who's a first semester student at MUN is overloaded and just like deer in headlights, like what the heck, right? So I guess that's the most important point I wanted to get to. And we can, you know, any questions specifically, of course, but the question about the courses, we're happy to field. But the most important aspect is we are all here for you, right? And there's no, it's we want everyone to succeed, right? And any horror story you may have heard is grossly, grossly, grossly over exaggerated and well, untrue, right? I mean, like people are good, right? We all want everybody to help and we want everybody to do well. So
thank you so much. That was definitely some really, really great advice for the students we have here. I do want to say a couple of things. One thing is going back to when you said you might be a little bit overwhelmed about all the buildings and classrooms and where the heck do I go for my English class? I will say that we got you covered because science faculty is hosting group tours for orientation this year. You can register online for this Saturday and Sunday, and you can meet friendly faces like Amelia, who is here today. She's one of our volunteers. So we definitely want to help you as much as we can, and you can find the link to register in your D2L, in your MUN email, and also on our MUN Science Orientation Instagram. The link is in the bio. I also do want to say that although you are overwhelmed, try your best to, take all this information, stay calm. We all had to go through it, and we all got over it, and we're doing great now. It's going to be a week of chaos, and that is okay. I also want to say, don't be afraid to, I know it's something you may have not have done in high school. Don't be afraid to talk to the person next to you. Don't be afraid to stay after class and ask the professor questions, because people will remember this kind of stuff. Maybe you want to apply for a position in research with the professor, and they remember you from first year asking all these questions and staying after class and putting in that time and effort. All of these things that you do as a first year student will lead up to success in the future. It's great to talk to, the person sitting next to you in a lecture hall, because who knows, maybe they'll become your lab partner one day. All these ways are just different ways to make connections, and is a great thing to consider as a first year student. So I want to thank our speakers today for taking time to give this amazing advice to us and sharing their experience about what it's like to be a psychology student here at MUN. If you guys have any questions, again, you can email them. Society groups are super good for information. Lots of information there, whether you're wondering about if a course is good or not, if you're wondering about where you can buy textbooks. Definitely check those out. Kaya, again, is the president of the Psychology Society, so she is definitely a good person to head to. So yeah, thank you all for attending today. If you guys have any other questions, you can also reach out to myself. So yeah, we have the psychology advice email put in the chat there if you guys want to just copy that down. So you can email that. So yeah, thank you everyone for showing today, and that's the end of our session.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
See
Have a
ya.
good day. Talk to you again.